Okay, before you ask, I am currently holding auditions for the next host of the Disney sequel show. Thank you, Joseph, very much for sending yours in virtually. Very strong contender because, I mean, the in-person ones are going very badly. And while I hate to be the bearer of bad news, I haven't made any final decisions yet. Meaning, even more unfortunately, I had to come up with an original video idea. So, I came up with the most unoriginal original video idea ever. A Disney computer animated era tier list. Is that even an era of Disney? No, it probably isn't, but you know, it is now. So if you don't know what that means, a computer animated movie is an animated movie that was made on a computer. You know, as opposed to being hand-drawn. And this trend was started by Pixar with a film called Toy Story. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a pretty good film, and yeah, it's actually its 25th birthday this week, so that's just a massive coincidence. I didn't plan this for the 25th anniversary week. And Disney Animation didn't really get into making these kind of movies until quite late on. I guess they owned Pixar, so they didn't really care, but eventually they caved and made one with the classic Chicken Little. Yeah, that was actually Disney's first computer animated movie. But since then, they've come quite a long way, I think it's fair to say. With Frozen 2, the most recent, being the highest grossing animated film of all time. So, yeah, I'm not going to mess about anymore. Let's just get into what the tiers are called. Firstly, we have the blue tier. I'm going to call this bad film. For blue, yeah, that makes sense. Next, we have the second from bottom green tier. I'm going to call that A for adequate. It just... yeah, I'd watch it, but, like, it's not that great, but it's alright. It was adequate. That's, yeah, a good word. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit I own a thesaurus. Not that I didn't know the word adequate before I owned a thesaurus. The yellow tier, I'm gonna call, honourable. Yeah, if it's an honourable film, I would recommend it to someone. It's a very prestigious tier to be in the yellow tier, you know? Just yellow. And the red tier, I'm gonna call B for best. Like, if you make it into the red tier, you're genuinely one of the best movies I've ever seen. And there is at least one of these films I'm looking at right now that 100% makes it into that tier. But still, let's just deal with a little Chicken Little, you know, just little. It's going in the bottom tier because, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot it existed before last week. Like, genuinely, I have a very good memory, and this film escaped it. And that is a really big insult. And I feel kind of bad because I've definitely spoken about this computer animated era of Disney films before, and I always thought it started with Meet the Robinsons. This film just escaped my mind. When I was scrolling through the Wikipedia list yesterday, it caught my eye and I was like, wait, was this? And yes, this was Disney's first ever computer animated movie, and to say it was a rough start is a massive understatement. This was an outright bad film. Like, it wasn't good. I guess that's kind of implied by the word bad. You know, what's another word for bad? Sinful. Yes, this movie is sinful. Like, I don't actually know where the Chicken Little and the whole sky is falling thing even started, but there's like an ugly duckling in there and a few other characters from other things. Was this Disney's attempt at trying to replicate Shrek? Because if so, you completely failed at that. Like, I don't know why, but they turned Chicken Little into an alien invasion story, which I don't think that's how the original Chicken Little is, but you know, it's exactly how it sounds. It wasn't very good. And this is a real bit of audio from that film.
Ace.
Abby.
Ace.
Abby.
Ace.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. On to more positive things. I'm gonna do Zootopia. And I actually think Zootopia is top tier. I think this is one of the best films I've ever seen. My mum, before I made this video, when I told her I was gonna make this video, she said, Zootopia better be on top, Seamus. And here you go, mum, top tier. Because I loved Zootopia, just like you did. In a way, this kind of goes against what I'm like, because usually I don't like animal-centered stories, but there's always an exception to the rule. And for me, Zootopia is that exception to the rule. They really work the story around everyone being animals and create this whole classism, but among different species of animals, which can be related to society with discrimination against minorities. Like, I find with so many other animal-centered stories that the characters are only animals because the story decided they were animals, and you could easily replace them with humans and it wouldn't really change anything, or you're making their achievements more impressive in this human world, or, you know, just to sell toys. Yeah, that's probably it in most cases. Selling toys is great. That makes money, and that's not to take away from any of these films here. I love all of these films, but this was just exceptional, in my opinion, and a step above from each of these films. And yeah, I really do love Zootopia. So I'm gonna go with Bolt. I'm gonna put Bolt in this green tier, which I called adequate. I think this is an adequate film, because it's in the green tier, which is the adequate tier, and that would imply it's an adequate film. Like, I don't even know what to say about this one. It doesn't do enough to stand out compared to the films that came after it. I don't know if you know this, but like, they made Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt, and then they really stepped it up, in my opinion. Like, the films that came after Bolt were, like, significantly better, at least the originals. We'll get into that. And I don't want to sound like a broken record here. I am very aware I made basically this exact point in my most recent video, but did they steal some of their plots from Toy Story? One of the main characters doesn't understand who he actually is, gets lost, has to find his way home. The end. Yeah, this is Toy Story. Just, is this how other people view Toy Story? Because Toy Story is a lot better than Bolt. I hope we're clear here. But then, in credit to them, Toy Story 3 did come after Bolt, and the Lotso plotline did seem very similar to one from this film. So yeah, before I make this whole video about Toy Story, I'm going to talk about the new king of the animation genre, Frozen. And, you know, Frozen is going in the yellow tier, which I've forgotten the name of, I'm not gonna lie. Honorable, yes, okay, yeah, Frozen's an honorable film. I know so many people love to hate it, but you cannot ignore what it's achieved. It and its sequel own the title for the 2 highest grossing animated films of all time, you know, if you ignore The Lion King, which, yeah, we're gonna ignore The Lion King. And all in all, you can see why it's a success beyond just Let It Go being, well, Let It Go. You know, we've got this similar to Earth World, but there's snow magic and, well, you know, that's kind of pretty much all that's different. It's a fun little adventure story, and I quite like all the characters. Maybe that's the hot take of this. I don't really dislike any of the Frozen characters. I think they're all okay. Yeah, even Hans. I mean, I saw it coming that he was going to be the villain, but, you know, it didn't make him a bad villain, in my opinion. He had a good motivation, and it was an interesting game. It was fine. Next up, I'm going to do Big Hero 6. Okay, I don't know if this is also going to be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like this film holds up. You know, it's going up next to Frozen in the... I've forgotten its name again. I don't know, I'm a sucker for superhero films, so the idea I wouldn't like Big Hero 6 would probably be more surprising, but then again, out of like the 4 main animated superhero films, being The Incredibles, Incredibles 2, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, this is definitely bottom of that list. Like, it's not even close. I don't know, the thing I can think of that I like from this film is how it all ties in. Like, you've got the villain's tragic backstory, and just after the final battle, when they've defeated the villain, they realize they can reverse the events and save his daughter from the backstory, so just as you think it's done, there's more to come, and they save her, and yeah, that was nice, I like that. So it's the worst animated superhero film, but it's still fine. That's my opinion on Big Hero 6. Meet the Robinsons, that's going next to Bolt, and actually, I think it was a bit better than Bolt, so I'm gonna put it ahead of Bolt. Yeah, we're gonna rank these just as we do it. So, it was definitely ambitious. Like, they tried to build this huge world with futuristic inventions and time travel, and I just don't think the technology was ready yet. Like, this is Disney's second computer animated movie, and it shows. Like, I feel like so much of their success in the past has come from being able to build these big, expansive universes, but with this new style, it's harder to do that, and therefore you don't get as immersed in the universe as you would with their other films. And you're kind of just watching it from afar. Does that make any sense? With that said, I'm a sucker for a good time travel story, and this was an okay time travel. It was adequate. And yeah, let's go into Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, we're just gonna add that. That's instant number 1. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This isn't just my favorite computer animated Disney movie. This is my favorite Disney movie that isn't made by Pixar or Star Wars or Marvel. You know, they don't really count. I've definitely covered a lot of points to why this is my favorite Disney movie before, and if you're a long-time viewer, this won't be a massive surprise to you, but it's Toy Story, but with arcade games. What's not to like? It's built around a very flawed, interesting main character, similarly to Toy Story, and I find that so much more interesting than just a perfect character that can't do anything wrong, which so many Disney movies do. The world building is just... oh, it's so good. And the villain, don't even get me talking about King Candy or Turbo. Oh my god, it's perfect. Now, I don't even want to go into too much detail about this right now off script. Like, I want to make a full scripted video about why Wreck-It Ralph is my favorite Disney film. And if that's something you'd like to see, make sure to leave a like. Yes, this is a scam to get you to leave a like. I'm probably going to make that video anyway. But if you leave a lot of likes, I might make it sooner. So, Tangled. Yeah, you're going ahead of Big Hero 6, behind Frozen. I feel like maybe this film would be ahead of Frozen if Frozen wasn't just such a phenomenon of a film. Like, I don't think you can put Tangled ahead of Frozen considering what Frozen is. And yes, that's a perfectly valid factor that can be taken into account when ranking films. I don't care. So I feel like this is the most important Disney computer animated movie because by 2010 when this era was coming through, I feel like I was able to appreciate films more than I was able to back when Pixar were going through their golden era. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to differentiate why a film was good and why a film was bad more than just I enjoyed one more than the other. Does that make any sense? And I think more than anything, Tangled got me and a lot of other people more excited for Disney computer animated films, helping Frozen become Frozen. And yeah, with that said, let's get into Moana, which, before we do, I need to address something. Over 3 years ago now, I made a video called Why I Don't Like Moana, and I have addressed this in a video since, but I feel like I should probably address it here as well. I've changed my mind quite a bit since then, mostly because I'm much more of a Lin-Manuel Miranda stan, and the points I made I feel like do stand, but it's not enough for me to actively dislike the movie. And for that reason, I'm also going to place this in the honorable tier. I feel like it came at the time when they were getting really good at animating really realistic water. Like, you had The Good Dinosaur, they made that Pixar short Piper, Finding Dory, and then this, like, all within the space of about a year. I've only watched this film 3 times now. The first time I watched it was when all the hype was around it, everyone was saying, this is better than Frozen and Tangled, and I still stand by that it isn't better than Frozen and Tangled. But since then, I've watched it twice more, and it does get better with every viewing. It's a pretty simple adventure story where you've got 2 characters, one's a more serious character, and one's kind of like the funny sidekick, and they've got to get something from one place to another place, and they end up getting that thing from that place to the other place. It's pretty simple. I still stand by, Maui is pretty much irrelevant to the entire film. Like, Moana solves everything without him, and this whole getting the fish hook plotline kind of just serves as a side quest almost, and yeah, but other than that, I don't really have that many problems with this film. It's fine. Which brings us on to the final 2 films, which I've meticulously left for the end. Every film I've done so far has been an original, and then in 2018, Disney finally decided they were going to get into the sequels game. Now, the first point I want to make is I don't think either of these sequels live up to the original. In Ralph Breaks the Internet's case, it doesn't come close, which is why I'm putting Ralph Breaks the Internet in the green tier. Yeah, it's adequate at best. It's better than Meet the Robinsons and Bolt, but it's still adequate. I do like the fact it delves into more Vanellope's story, which is a good way of doing a sequel, but still, yeah. But I just can't work out why on rewatches, why the story bothered to go into the internet. You have this great universe built in the arcade, and you decide to branch it out and go into this wide internet world for some reason. Like, why? It's just, how do you do Fellow Kids the movie? You can't make a good movie revolving in the internet. It's impossible. Meanwhile, Frozen 2 I thought was quite a bit better than Ralph Breaks the Internet, and it's going to go in the honourable tier, and there's quite a big gap, in my opinion, between the honourable tier and the adequate tier. That's got to be kept in mind, and I'm going to put it last in the honourable tier because I don't think it was better than any of the other films in there, but still, big gap. It very much follows the simple sequel formula where it's kind of just like, okay, we're going to take these characters and we're going to kind of build a bigger lore, try to build out this universe a bit, and maybe set it up for more sequels, and Elsa's going to run off into the Atta Holland snow world. Like, the story as a whole I thought was fine, but it didn't do anything to make it properly stand out compared to Frozen. In a way, it kind of surprises me that Frozen 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet aren't more hated by the general public in the way like Incredibles 2 or Monsters University are, because I feel like those 2 films are very good, but a lot of people will dispute that purely based on the fact they're not better than their original. And I think these 2 films suffer from that exact same problem, but don't get nearly as much hate for it, but I guess that's because no one's overly nostalgic for the original, because they're pretty new films in the grand scheme of things, and therefore the sequel couldn't let you down so much. There's almost like, as you get more nostalgic for a film, the harder it becomes for the sequel to live up to it. And yeah, that's a full-on topic for another day. And with that said, I'm really sorry. Another table video must come to an end, and my opinions probably suck in your opinions. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy this video, you should also leave a like. Because why not? Special thank you to Ali, Yuhan, Chase, Jacob, Maddie, Zach, Peter, Rachel, William, Simon, Haley, Liam, Jaden, Veronica, Catherine, another Rachel, another Jacob, another Zach, but spelt differently this time, Jonathan, Ben, and Amanda for supporting me on Patreon. If you also want to support me on Patreon, make sure to check it out in the link in the description down below. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking here. You can check out another tier list video by clicking here. You can check out my Patreon that I just mentioned here and in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Or not.